Nope. Okay. And we are live. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's been a while since we've done a live video. We've done some previews and stuff like that. But we have the friend of the show, one of the first guests we ever had on this program. I think the first guest, actually, when we did the show. Oh my God, Doug, that was literally a year ago. But my God, that seems a lot longer. But anyway, we've got Doug from the Dugout Football channel. Again, link in the description to all this stuff below. First of all, mate, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. My goodness, a year already. That does not feel like a year. But I'm doing very well, and thank you very much for asking me to come on and give you a wee bit of insight into potentially your next signing.
Yeah, that's the thing. You've probably seen from the title and description what this is about, so we'll just get straight into it. Just want to get your thoughts on Odsonne Eduoard. Again, we've heard a lot. He's been linked to us for such a long time now, and just want to get your thoughts on just who he is as a player. We've seen some of the statistics, and you've seen the clips on YouTube, but it's not the same as seeing it in person. But from you following them a lot more, I just want to get your initial thoughts on Odsonne Eduoard.
He is a very, very good striker. I think this is one thing you have been missing is just somebody else rather than Vardy and Iheanacho, because if they both get injured, then you've not really got anybody. Edouard holds the ball up very well. He has played left wing quite a few times. He has been in the front two most of his career at Celtic. But to actually begin with, he was actually on the left wing for a long, long time. Then he converted into a striker, but he doesn't play very well as a striker up front on his own. He likes to play in a front two. The stats say for himself. It's 168 appearances, 83 goals and 37 assists. That's not too bad as a striker for Celtic, and obviously he came from PSG as well. Didn't get many games for PSG before he joined Celtic, so he's a very, very good striker. And I think the fact that you might be getting him for £15 million is an absolute steal, when last summer he could have easily gone for 30.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the things we were looking at and realizing the price drops down low. But again, that's something I've just learned about football, just from the different price of contracts and stuff like that. Before, you just pay the money, but it's not as easy as that, especially with Leicester. But yeah, that's one thing. One of the points I wanted to bring it on specifically. But just before we go anywhere, like, share the video. That would be great. Make sure you subscribe to Doug's channel. Fantastic football channel as well. So I really recommend you support that. Go down and support that. Really knowledgeable about football. But one thing I want to mention is just that Doug mentioned Leicester City have actually. Eduard has scored against Leicester City. Can any of you actually name when that was and who that was against? He's mentioned PSG, but when did we play PSG? Let us know in the comments below if you remember that, because we'll bring them up on screen if that's the case. Doug, I'll answer it once the comments start coming in. But yes, one thing I wanted to talk about, well, Mark's put already, something that Chris Sutton said. How much more we need to progress before the Celtics deserve? This was a famous quote that went around, but feel free to answer that. But again, it's Chris Sutton for you.
Well, put it this way: Celtic's season has gone. Your season has gone up. So I think you are definitely better than Celtic. To be fair, they've just named a complete unknown who I've never ever heard of. Ange Postecoglou, I think is how you pronounce his name, but he's a 55-year-old Australian. He's managing the Australian League. He's managing the J League. So I would probably say that Rangers are probably going to be favourites next season. So to answer your question, you are definitely better than Celtic.
It was a joke. It was a tongue-in-cheek question, because I remember it was just this is Chris Sutton. We just used it by now, but something I wanted to bring on to you that you mentioned briefly as well. Him playing as kind of a single striker and a two strikers as well. So something that Leicester City have played with a lot this year, playing three at the back, which allows them to play Kelechi Iheanacho and Jamie Vardy up top. Now, part of the reason why Jamie Vardy isn't scoring because he was genuinely playing through injury. So out of them two, if he's playing up top, as you're saying, in a two, who do you think he's more likely to work best with? I know that's quite hard to kind of process, but from what we've seen, Kelechi Iheanacho looks quite similar, but also Jamie Vardy has that youth and experience and could get the best out of players like he's done with Kelechi Iheanacho.
It took him a bit of time to get, used to the Celtic style of play as well. Took a bit of time to get to know that because he only came in. I think it was January of 2017. So he's been at the club since 2017. I think if you're talking about youth and experience, probably Jamie Vardy, because Edouard's definitely, like, both of them have got pace. Like Vardy can play off the front man on his own. Edouard, for me, if you play both of them, then you've got another big problem if you're a defender, because those two have definitely got pace. So I think probably Jamie Vardy for me, but Kelechi Iheanacho was coming to his own this season. So I think probably I would say Jamie Vardy, but don't be too surprised if it's Kelechi Iheanacho as well.
That's very interesting, again, because that's something that we want to kind of push on. One player that we haven't quite got is it's called Kelechi Iheanacho. It's tracking back. You're saying he was obviously pacey, but what do you think his biggest attributes are as a striker? Because that's what we're looking at, kind of. Because one play position that we kind of have some players, but just with this formation that we play with Harvey Barnes injured, we couldn't really have to just play wing backs. And with that, do you think Eduard what do you think his main attributes are that Leicester fans should be looking out for?
I think his ability in the air. He is so good in the air. Most of his goals have been headers. So I think from a set piece, that's something you would look at to his strengths for sure. He's actually a free kick taker, believe it or not. He has actually scored a couple of free kicks. So again, I think another thing about him, he does like scoring free kicks, and he especially likes scoring against my Scottish club, Livingston. I think he scored 5 goals and 6 appearances for the Celtic against Livingston. So, and he actually scored a free kick against us. So I know that he's a very good free kick taker as well. It's just his all-round play. He holds the ball up really well. He's a physical threat as well, and to be fair, he's been very good. It's just, can he do it that step up now from Scottish Premiership to English Premiership? He might, I think it will take him time to get settled in. He took time to get settled in at Celtic, but his biggest attributes is his physical strength, and he scores loads of headers as well.
Because that's one thing that we're lacking at the moment is basically set pieces. I mean, we've had a great season last season, but I think you'll ask Leicester fans, we are woeful at set pieces. That's definitely an area that we do need to improve. And coming on to that, I mean, one thing, fantastic. So the type of striker he is, and because we've got the clinicalness in front of goal in Kelechi Iheanacho, but I think Eduard brings that as well from what I've seen. His clinicalness when he's at a one-on-one opportunity, he's running into the box, and he can score goals from all different types of positions. So not are you saying from free kicks and stuff, which is interesting because obviously we've got James Maddison in the team who looks like he's probably our main free kick taker at the moment. But his pace and his physicality is something that I think I spotted that was something that I think Leicester would really use that. And also he's worked with Brendan Rodgers before. So it's just pressing play from when he was on fire was under Brendan Rodgers, and he knows how to get the best out of him. But that's definitely going to play to his hands, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he scored 26 goals in the Rodgers unbeaten season, 52 appearances. So even then, he's got a very he's got an eye for goal. This guy. So I think, and he's only 22 as well. So he's still got his whole career ahead of him.
And he fits the Leicester profile quite well. In terms of we get players in and we train them up. And a question from Ant, I know you saw it on Twitter as well, which is how long do you think it will take for him to step up to the Premier League? Obviously, it took a while to step up to the Scottish League and then obviously to the Premier League. It does look good, but how long do you think it will take? Again, there's no rush for Leicester. We will sit a player behind like Soyuncu for a year and just to get him going again. But how long do you think it will take?
I think if you get him before the start of pre-season, let him get a full pre-season, get him embedded into the squad, then I think it may take him time. He may start from the bench. I don't think he'll start games to begin with. But you've got Iheanacho, you've got Vardy. I don't see him starting to begin with, but as soon as he starts, scoring, then Rodgers has played with him before. at Celtic, so he will take time to get bedded in. And remember, he did actually sign for Celtic in January 2017. He didn't have a pre-season, so I think this time around, if he gets a pre-season, I think he will be fine.
Yeah, and just to come back to the question that everybody's answered, Yeti Boy has asked it as well. It was 2016. After we won the league, we basically was invited to the ICC. I know you guys were part of it, been part of it for a while as well, and we got humiliated. And then we played Celtic, ironically, but he wasn't. I don't think he was at Celtic yet. Then we played against PSG. No. We lost 4-0. I think it was going back. I think it was not Ibrahimovic. Ibrahimovic is the manager. The person that used to play for Manchester United and PSG, I can't pronounce his name, the Swedish person.
Zlatan
Ibrahimovic. I got him confused and the Chelsea owner confused. I was just shoving them together. I was like, it's one of them. I can't remember how. Yeah. Anyway, Ibrahimovic. Yes, you're right. And then the last goal was by that as well, by Eduard as well. So he has scored against Leicester. So we tend to buy people that are... Anyway, we'll get on to that. But yes, ready for the Premier League obviously is one thing that we're looking for. And Rodgers is also quoted as saying, I've got some of the research for this, he's one of the best players he has worked with. Now, coming into a Leicester squad where they have got the likes of, it looks like Samari deal is pretty much done as well. You've got Fofana, who's also a French under 21. And then you've got players probably like Mendy that speaks French, Yuri Tillemans who speaks French, Dennis Pratt who speaks French. There's going to be a group around him to go, okay, even though he can't speak, we'll get together. And Leicester has a way of increasing the players. So from that, I think Rodgers has kind of stepped up his next level in terms of the Premier League. And now, do you think Eduard can do the same? Because the likes of Jamie Vardy, I think, still can have a great season next season. However, the second half of the season, he was basically playing with a groin injury. And it's not something that we get, that was picked up a lot on. But I think with him, maybe with Vardy being rested a little bit, Eduard will be the person that would come forward. One thing I want to get as well is, how has he done in the Europa League as well? Because that's something that we've been in. We don't know who we're going to be against, but I think with his experience, we can do something and play it like a secondary team in Europa League.
He has scored a few in the Europa League, actually. He scored 7 goals in the Europa League. So he has an eye for goal. The only problem this season is that Celtic have been very, very poor. Rangers ran away with the league in the end. I think it was something like 22 points that they won it with. But to be fair, he had a bit of a stop-start season. He had COVID. He'd been injured, so he has had a bit of a stop-start season. But what I will say is, Europa League, it will be so important to have. I know Vardy won't play as much because I'm being 34, is he?
34
Jamie Vardy
now, yeah.
Aye, so you need somebody up and coming, and I think Eduard is definitely that player to come in and just kind of give Vardy a bit of a rest. Because let's be honest, Vardy will probably play Premier League games. I'm not sure he'll play Europa League games, so it's about having that youth and experience in your squad. And I kept saying it last year in every prediction video. If Vardy gets injured, you've only got Iheanacho. So it was crucial that you got another striker to challenge Vardy and Iheanacho.
Yes, I don't know if my internet is slightly playing up, so apologies if that's the case. However, that's one thing as well with, you had to play Vardy game in, game out, because Iheanacho, literally, if you look at it, Iheanacho does get the plaudits, but a lot of the room Vardy takes away, and he's a very, very he's a very clever but unselfish player at the same time. He will run away, and it means that the likes of it opens up space for Iheanacho. Is that something that Eduard can do as well? Kind of run in one direction. Say Vardy's not playing, you're playing Iheanacho and Eduard up front. If Iheanacho runs in one direction, Eduard runs one way, takes 2 players with him, so that you can play Iheanacho as a lone striker, as like a poacher. I think them two work quite similarly, but I think that if they could kind of, if they're too similar, it kind of works against each other, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I think the thing is, like, Iheanacho does very, very well taking defenders away. Eduard was one of the best at it when he was at Celtic. So he loved giving defenses a hard time, bullying defenses. One thing he does actually take away from, he's very good at scoring in derby games. He scored a lot of goals against Rangers in the Old Firm derby. So when that comes with Aston Villa, he might score. And he's a man for the big occasions, as people were dubbing him in Scotland. So I reckon that if you have two players who can actually take defenders away, I think you'll do well next season.
It will be very interesting to see again how he adapts, because I know the likes of Arsenal were looking at him and other teams, and he's one of the players that were kind of taken from the Premier League. And so Celtic have a way of developing players that are ready for the leagues. I look at the likes of obviously Van Dijk, as you guys know firsthand. Obviously, it took a while for Southampton, then made it the step up to your other club in Liverpool as well. Look at the likes of Dembele as well. So do you think he'll be along the same kind of Celtic alumni that ends up moving on to better things eventually?
Yeah, absolutely. I think look, he wanted to leave Celtic last summer. I think he only stayed because I think he was loyal to the cause. His contract runs out in May the 31st, 2022 as well. So that's something else. I think because you're getting him for 15 million, well, it's between 15 and 18 million. I'm not sure exactly the actual price figure, but to get a player of that quality for that amount of money is very, very good. And I think it reflects on the fact that he has only 1 year on his contract remaining. And as I said, he could have gone for 30 million last summer, but Celtic, the highest bid I think Celtic had last season was actually from Arsenal, and it was 24.5 million, and they turned it down. And Arsenal just said, nope, not paying 30 million. So, you know what? I think Leicester have done very, very well here to get him for a cut price figure.
Yeah, it's definitely a lower figure than we were expecting. But at the same time, Leicester doing business on any end. But if you've got any other question for Doug, leave them in the parts down below, because again, that I think, as we were just coming back to earlier with Brendan Rodgers, he's committed. People were saying, oh well, he could go to another club or whatever. He's committed his future to the club, and getting these kind of signings in. And Leicester have shown, I think, they're building for the future. I think we'll be up and around there, just as we were this season. Again, it's disappointing that we dropped out. But if you think about the team that's now, the team that won the league in 2016, pretty much throughout the entire squad, they've all gone. I mean, the likes of Kasper Schmeichel, Mark Albrighton, and Jamie Vardy are the only players remaining. So just from that, how do you think Leicester have done in terms of the rebuild? I mean, I think we finished at first, then 14th, 9th, and then 5th. So we are creating this kind of trajectory that's going up. And if you're going to compete on the like the likes of yourselves in Liverpool in the Europa League, you're going to need a bigger squad. And I think we've realised that we can do that in the Premier League, but now it's getting out to the Europa League. And how many years do you think that'll take to kind of build out that squad? Because I know Liverpool have been through so many rebooting periods over the time as well.
I have to say, I think your recruitment policy is one of the best in the Premier League. The amount of transfer business that you get, the players that you sell on, like obviously got was 60 for Mahrez, 80 for Harry Maguire. Like to this day, I still can't believe he's the most expensive defender in England. But that's credit to Leicester City's recruitment, and imagine to get that. I think you are rebuilding at the right times. Look, Castagna was a very good signing last summer. I think that was a very, very shrewd move. James Justin has been fantastic, albeit, he's got his injury, sadly. But a couple of years, and then I think you're probably going to be challenging for the title, top four. But you'll definitely be challenging for, top four. But to be in the top four for 37 out of 38 match weeks, and then to fall out of the final day was really, really heartbreaking to take, because we'd done all the hard part. We beaten Palace, Villa were beating Chelsea. All you needed to do was a draw against Spurs or a win. You would top four. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it would be because of goal difference. It had to be a win. But again, we were 2-0 up. Again, you can watch our video on that and how we shouted about Leicester City, because it wasn't, we weren't happy, but at the same time, it is what it is, and we realise again it's time going through that as well. Yeti Boys puts another comment in as well. The only thing that worries me about is the difference in the two leagues. For example, Benkovic, a player that again works under Rodgers at Leicester at the moment, looked like Van Dijk for Celtic. Again, he did look very good, then he got injured, but there is a definite difference between the two leagues. But at the same time, there is a difference. But however, I think somebody like Rodgers that has experience in Scotland and in the Premier League can be vital to Eduard stepping up as well.
100%. And you look at some players who have actually come down from Scotland and done well in the Premier League. Victor Wanyama joined Southampton. He did very well. Stuart Armstrong's done very well for Southampton as well. Lee Griffiths left. He didn't leave Celtic, but he left Hibernian to go to Wolves. He did okay. At Wolves, and then he's back at Celtic as well. So it does take players time to get to know this league. But I'm sure with the patience that Rodgers will definitely give Eduard, and yeah, that's high praise indeed to say that he's one of the best he's worked with. I'm sure Eduard will be fine.
Yeah, I'm hoping so as well. But again, I think it's good to remember that it's going to take time. Maybe you'll see a few outings in the Europa League eventually or soon, and then we'll see it building in towards the future. But I don't think that. Have you got anything else to add to that, Doug? Sorry, because that's all of my questions. But in terms of like, is your Premier League ready? Is potential and stuff like that as well? Dan's put a comment in, a friend of mine from university. But yeah, thanks, Dan. Villavan here, we press the Leicester model. How do they maintain the challenge in the top four from here? We'll have to see, mate. But we're doing it in the right directions. But maybe over to you as well. I know you've been following Leicester as well, Doug. But can we maintain that? Because again, we've done it twice, and it does look like a failure. But if you look at the budgets we're at, the facilities we're trying to do, and how we're trying to do it with young players, I mean, it's so you need to have that experienced player that goes, no, we're not losing, we're going to win these games. But they cost a lot of money, and Leicester just can't afford them. So it's how do we do it from there?
I think you had the most injuries in the Premier League. I think people forget that everyone was looking towards Liverpool's injuries last season, but you you actually had the highest number of injuries in the Premier League last season, and you managed to stay in the top four for the last 2 game weeks. But I just think it's just keep on winning. I think your home form needs to improve next season. I think that's where we were let down. Our home form was really, really bad. Yours was very, very bad as well. Away, you were fantastic away from home. It's just about whether you can balance again Premier League, Europa League, FA Cup, League Cup. And obviously you've got the Community Shield to begin with as well on the 7th of August, which is on terrestrial TV, believe it or not, for the first time in so many years. So I just think it's about balancing Premier League and Europa League. Maybe you'll give the cups a chance, but who knows?
Yeah. And the thing is, you're right. I think one thing to remember as well is that with some of these players, they are young, so they're developing year on year. Fafana didn't even have a pre-season. He just was chucked. He was like, okay, there was an injury. It was a 4-month horrible injury to Soyuncu. And again, as you were saying, a lot of these injuries have been sustained at home. If you look at Leicester City, they're digging up the pitch at the moment, just removing it, because apparently Brendan Rodgers said this is not good enough to play football on. It's the same pitch that was there when that was created in 2002 when that stadium was done. So they're literally digging the whole thing up and resurfacing it. Not that that's an excuse, but Brendan Rodgers said, if you want to go far, we have to improve our home form. And it starts with A, the injuries that we picked up, a lot of them were at home, and B, the pitch was not good enough. And he said not quick enough to play football on, like we could do at other grounds. But it's not good enough. But any other questions, Doug? It's been great to have you on once again. But where can people find you again? There's a link to everything. It's Twitter's, Instagram, YouTube channel, all down below. So make sure you check that out. But where can the people find you, just in case they don't know?
Just in case. My Twitter handle is there, Rod1992. My Instagram is Douglas.Horn. YouTube is the Dugout Football channel, and Facebook is Douglas James Horn. But yeah, thank you very much for having me, and I'm glad I could give you a full insight into Mr. Eduard at Celtic.
Yeah, definitely. We might be doing some. Yeah, I know. Really appreciate some of that, some of the comments as well, and some of the everybody that was commenting as well. But yes, thank you so much for watching, everybody. If you like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you for making it this far into the video as well. We really appreciate it. We'll see everybody for next week for some more stuff. Let's hope Leicester get the club announce some signings, because the Euros are starting. Everything's kicking off. You might see some stuff on the YouTube channel. We've not really planned it that far ahead, but we'll see everybody in the next video. So goodbye.